Welcome to the Meredith Show. Each week we like to bring you somebody fascinating that we think you need to know. And so this week we have Henri Baskins joining us. And I am overjoyed because you were on my list from the beginning when we designed the show. And there are many reasons why, but I think one thing I find really, really intriguing is your career with AT&T started when you were 15 and a half?
15 and a half, that's right.
But that's not the most fascinating part. In fact, you stayed with them for how many years?
Over 40 years.
Wow. Yeah. You don't hear that from many people.
Not many, not many.
Why did you stay with AT&T so long?
Well, they offered me the opportunity, Meredith, of having several careers with one company. When I started, it was called Southern Bell, a division of AT&T in Charleston, South Carolina.
Which is where you're from.
Which is where I'm from. And I, believe it or not, I changed the pages in the operator's directory. Then I became an operator. And from there, I became a technician. And from a technician, I became in the engineering department. And from engineering, I was a planner. So you can see I had multiple careers with one company.
And many opportunities.
Many.
And at the end, before you retired, if you will, which we'll talk about that in a moment, because you're not really retired, far from it, in my opinion, you had a fabulous position in the community and a top-level position for a lady to lead. And we talk a lot on the show, just so you know, about femfessionals, and that's a lady who really connects and supports others.
Oh, I love the name.
Yes, ma'am. And you are, by design, a model femfessional. What was it like being at the top of AT&T at the end there?
Well, AT&T is a great place for women who want to further their career. And that can't be said about every company. But I had great opportunities. I was around powerful men and women who taught me a lot about business and the business world and how to succeed in the business world. When you have that kind of training and you're around those kind of strong, especially strong female roles, you have a better chance of succeeding in life. And I am very appreciative of what AT&T did for me.
And I'm really appreciative because it was your position at AT&T that allowed us to connect several years ago. And one of the things I found most fascinating about you is while you always had a very large leadership role and a big job, you're very humble, you make time to give back, and you do it in a big way. Tell me a little bit about your love of service, because I understand that you've traveled the world.
Some time ago, probably around the 1990s, mid-1990s, I was asked by my pastor if I would attend a conference, a 2-week conference in West Africa. So I had no interest in going to West Africa. My pastor, Glenn Anderson, at the time, he doesn't take no for an answer. Glenn said, I think you need to do this. And I thought about it and talked to my husband, and I decided to go. I did not know I was going from South Carolina by myself. Glenn was not accompanying me.
Oh my goodness.
I got to New York at LaGuardia Airport, and there are 22 other pastors there, and all male. I was the only female in the group. And I'm saying, what did I get myself into? But Meredith, was the best experience ever. We went to the Ivory Coast. We were going to the Ivory Coast in a 2-week conference, and I met some really, really fascinating women and men, but mainly the women intrigued me. There are a lot of women coming out of villages where women were not valued at all. This particular church group that we were visiting asked me about a program for women. Would I teach leadership to the women? And I took the book of Ruth and taught leadership from the book of Ruth. I was invited back the next year and the next year. And finally, I thought about, well, I'm teaching this stuff. Can't we put some of this in practice? So some of the women sewed. Some of them had chickens that laying hens. Some of the women crocheted, knitted, you name it. And they were having a difficult time selling their products. So what we decided to do was, in the rural areas, and most of that part of Africa is rural, but there is even more rural areas than that, we would set up along the main roads. And so for every 2.5 miles, we sat the women up with tables that they could sell their wares. Wow. So when the buses came through and when the cars came through, they could stop. And it became very successful. Well, after 4 years of doing that, I was invited to a conference in Ghana and went to Ghana and thought, well, why not do the same thing in Ghana? And we did that in Ghana. We did that in Nigeria, parts of Nigeria, Port Harcourt, Nigeria. So that was my tenure in Africa. And I did about 10 years of going every year to Africa. Finally, once again, Pastor Glenn said, I think you need to go to Asia.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for me to talk about all the things I've done, but you can see I love traveling.
As the Executive Director for the Greater Columbia Community Relations Council, you are all about bridging people together. Tell me what you love most about this position.
Oh, wow. This job is one of those jobs where you say to yourself, a nonprofit, I'm not sure I want to do a nonprofit. But once you read the organization's mission and once you know what the organization's about, you say to yourself, I've got to be there. I've got to be there to help. The organization was formed in 1964 around a lot of racial unrest throughout the country. But it was not just a black-white issue. It's a community divide issue. Whatever the organization can do to help with community unrest, any divisive situation in the community, we're there. You may not hear of us. It's behind closed doors. We talk one-on-one with wherever the divide might be. Occasionally, we bring people together to say, we're celebrating some of our victories. There are times when we have forums and we might sponsor debates to educate the community on what's going on. But we have our mission squarely in front of us that we are to be there for the community, connecting, being a bridge builder, being the source in the community for ironing out those things where we have differences, and those differences keep Columbia from being what it needs to be.
And really, I'm sure it's extremely rewarding to help bring people together.
It is.
Especially during difficult situations. I think I understand you are also celebrating with the gala coming up, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. We're 50 years old this year.
Big 50.
The big 50. The organization will celebrate its 50th anniversary on June 27th. Normally, we have an annual luncheon. This year, since we're 50 years old, we're having a gala. It'll begin at 6 o'clock with the reception and 7 o'clock with the dinner. It will be at the Medallion Center, and that's June 27th.
Okay, so if people want to get involved, do they need to call or go to the website?
The website or call either. Our telephone number is 733-1130. Our web is comrelations.org.
It's a joy to be with you, and I thank you so much for sharing your story, because living your life and sharing a little bit of it truly does inspire others.
Oh, Meredith, thank you so very much for inviting me.